Twin flames, soulmates, spiritual awakenings, and self-love are the themes in this week's episode. My guest Lenore shares the high highs and the lowest of lows of her twin flame journey. This episode includes discussion of suicidal ideation. Listener discretion is advised. I'm your host, Dashanka, and you're listening to That Was the Moment, Meeting My Twin Flame Changed My Life. My guest today is Lenore Kingdon. Lenore is a leader of the new design for twin flame consciousness, a Reiki master, and a #1 international best-selling author. With 25 years experience facilitating and supporting a safe space to cross the threshold into parenthood, she now provides the same space for the transition of awakened divine twins into new earth, love, and light awareness. Thank you so much for being here today, Lenore. I'm really
Thanks
happy
for
to have
having
you.
me. Thank you very much.
Amazing. So why don't we jump straight into it and start with what life was like before your moment?
Okay, so immediately before my moment, or probably, the 3 to 6 months leading up to it, I was in a fantastic job. I was working in an environment that I was really thriving in. I was working with patients that I was visibly helping. I had a lot of autonomy. I had an excellent job. I had great friends. I was going out with friends all the time. I was in my early 30s, and I had just, I think for the first time in my life, felt really happy and comfortable with being single. So I'd been single for a few years, and, I wasn't happy being single. I was struggling, and I'd gone to counselling. I'd had not that long at counselling, maybe a couple of months, and I was all of a sudden just feeling so relaxed within myself, so happy. Immediately before the event, I had actually been in Cairns at a medical conference, presenting at a medical conference. So yeah, everything was great. I was going to the gym all the time. I was working out 4 times a week. Yeah.
So just a great life.
Yeah. Finally a great
happy
life. Yeah.
Settled, feeling like content.
Content. Yeah, beautifully content, beautifully peaceful. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess now what happened to disrupt that contentment?
So what happened well, my moment was, like, I've had several moments, but this was the beginning of the moment. So it was actually a beautiful moment. It was the moment of meeting. So I'm a twin flame, and twin flame is not a journey or an awakening that you choose to have. It gets thrust upon you, and it usually comes upon you when you, as the feminine polarity, is in her best game, which is where I was. Yeah. I met this person. It was amazingly intense and romantic, and it was just like a Mills and Boon novel. And it's just like, oh, I love this person. Absolutely. Like, I've never, ever known love like this before. This is the person. This is, this is the one. My search is over, etc., etc. About 3 weeks in, which is very common with twin flames, you only get maybe a few weeks to a few months with your twin flame of this euphoria. So what happens when you meet your twin and you have this amazing connection is you're inexplicably drawn together. And then what happens after a certain amount of time together is you have this event called soul recognition. So what that is you recognize each other's vibration as being exactly the same as yours. So a lot of people talk about twin flames as being two incarnations of the one soul, the exact same souls in two different bodies. But my understanding through channeling it myself is that we are fractals of the oversoul who are vibrating at the exact same frequency, which is extremely rare. It's like fingerprints. They say that no two people in the world have the same fingerprints. Well, in spiritual terms, no two people have the same frequency except twins. So what happens is, after a certain amount of time together, as your souls merge, they recognize each other and you are thrown apart, like devastatingly, horrendously thrown apart. And that was the moment when I realized that my life is not like other people's lives. But I didn't know what that meant. I had never heard of this happening before. I was still seeing my counsellor, so I was trying to explain it to my counsellor, and she was counselling me like a regular relationship. And I know it sounded crazy, but I kept saying, this isn't the same, this isn't the same. I feel addicted to this person. I am so addicted. He feels like, to me, he's heroin and he's cut with crushed glass. So I inject it and then I have the high, and then when I come down, I bleed out. That's what it felt like metaphorically. So, yeah, what happens is you're thrown apart. You have an addiction to this person that you can't have because they run. So you each take one of the polarities. They take the negative, you take the positive, or you can call it feminine masculine, or you can call it anode cathode, whatever. But they take one polarity, you take the other polarity. They run, you chase. So this person that I was completely addicted to that I couldn't have, except for little spurts, and this person was equally addicted to me, but energetically, because it's an energetic dance, it's a very spiritual connection, the energy wouldn't allow him to come back because on a spiritual level, he only sees me in my magnificence and I only see him in his magnificence. So he can't come to me until I am showing up in my magnificence. So that means fully healed, raised consciousness, hugely aware, spiritually expanded, and completely standing on my own 2 feet. And the way that shows itself is that that negative polarity will keep rejecting the positive polarity. So if you can imagine, you're absolutely addicted to this person, and every time you go near them, they reject you, reject you, reject you. It's absolutely soul destroying. So it does bring about what is commonly referred to as the dark night of the soul. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So akin to depression. So I had a few of those on my journey. So this all happened about 21 years ago. And as I said, I'd never heard of anyone I knew going through this. So I started searching. Nothing was satisfying my curiosity. So I turned to tarot cards because I thought, yeah, something, I'd always been interested in the occult, and I'd gone to psychics. I'd never really played with tarot cards or any kind of cards, but I did have an interest there. So I started to delve into that, and that led me on a huge journey akin to the hero's journey. Yeah. Where I tried to understand what was going on. But it's not a journey that you can understand with your mind. You have to understand it with your soul and your being. And because this was a relatively new thing, a lot of people out there hadn't heard about it. I didn't know where to get any support. So for my first 15 years on the journey, I had no support. Wow. Really, really hard. But I always had a knowing, and trying to describe and explain that knowing to people is what is really hard. So I eventually learnt not to talk about it. So then it becomes very isolating. So I had at least one suicidal dark night of the soul, which occurred probably 5 years after we met. At which time he not only rejected me, but he had started a new family. He didn't get married, but everything but married, started a new family. So that was my moment where I thought, I just don't want to live anymore. The bathroom floor moment. Lots of suicidal ideation, because you're in this different vibration. You don't gel with many people. So I had friends, but a lot of my friends had flitted away once I met this person and had this soul recognition with my twin flame. And I still had some friends, but nowhere near as many as I used to. But I didn't want to hang out with lots of people. I didn't want to go out. I hated going out. I hated being without my twin. I was obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about my twin, and I went off. So if you're thinking of the hero's journey, I took the path of the temptress, which is actually the path of most resistance, not the path of least resistance. So I took the path of the temptress, and I was on that for about 10 to 12 years. And it was once the universe, my higher self, threw me back onto the path, that I became aware, and twin flame became a lot more twins had been activated. So mine was 2002. A lot of twins became activated around 2017. So by 2019, when I got thrown back onto the path of the twin flame, there was a lot more support and a lot more knowledge out there about twins. So I started the very intentional healing work, which when I started that probably about 6 years ago, my intention was still to get my twin flame back. And this journey is very paradoxical, because the more you heal and the more you raise your consciousness, the less attached you become to your twin. So the attachment became less and less and less and less and less. And the idea at the beginning is I know the only way to magnetize my twin back is to heal and ascend. But by the time I've healed and ascended, I don't want my twin back. So it's really crazy. And yeah, so for the past 6 years, I've been very consciously and awarely expanding, I guess. Yep.
So you are just going about your business, content, happy, life's great. And you meet someone. And was it a random meeting or?
It was relatively random. He was a friend of my friend's boyfriend. So they were workmates, and he had just broken up with his girlfriend. So I think he was staying at this mate's place, and so he came out with him.
And when you met him, was there just like an instant attraction, instant connection?
Yeah, so when I met him, very much, and he's not my type at all. I don't even know if we have types, but he's not someone I would ever have looked at and gone, oh yeah, he's a bit of all right. And I couldn't help myself. He was sitting at the bar. He had his back to me. He was on the phone to someone, and I tapped him on the back to say hello. Like, I didn't even know him. It was really odd. And then he asked me to dance, so I went and danced with him. The old days when we used to meet in pubs. And then everybody, it was, we were talking and dancing and still hanging out with everyone and having a few drinks and whatever. And then it was, the pub closing time, and we did not want to go home. So we walked down the other end of the street, and there was a pub that was open till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. So we just went and sat at that pub for a few hours, and eventually we walked home. he was staying at my friend's house, so I dropped him off there and I continued walking back to my place, I don't know, about 4:00 in the morning in Melbourne. And something I never do is I messaged his friend the next day and said, have you got his phone number? And I never do that. And they were together at the time having breakfast. I didn't know that. And so he told him. Anyway, he called me. We went out that night again. Yeah, so we were really, really drawn to each other. Yep. Couldn't keep away from each other.
And so you then started seeing each other, you said, for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, so just intense. Again, intense.
He lived about an hour or so drive away from me, so it wasn't close, like we could hang out every night, but he would do things like stay at my place, then drive home really early in the morning to go to work, be at work really early. I would drive to his place after work and stay the night. We would get together as often as we could, but it was only a few weeks before things started to fall apart.
What caused them to fall apart? So, were there specific issues or?
Not really. I guess the excuse he gave, because I didn't want to break up, but he was the one who was initiating the breakup. And the excuse that he was giving was that he was going overseas to work. But he would be back every couple of weeks. It was like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it was like we both really wanted it. We both really wanted to do it. And then for absolutely no reason, he said, I can't do this. And he couldn't give me a reason why. And that's quite common with the twin dynamic.
Yeah. As I was listening to you, I could kind of feel the euphoria that you were feeling, and that I'm floating on a cloud because I'm in love,
absolutely.
and this is stuff I've only ever dreamed about, and and I'm saying all of this because I've had a similar experience.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that was my twin flame, but I was seeing you euphoric and floating on a cloud, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, you drop through the cloud.
Yeah, you drop through the cloud. The cloud gives way. The support of the cloud is no longer there. And it's in the most devastating way because there's no logical reason for it. Yeah. When you break up from a relationship, there's usually reasons for breaking up. There was absolutely no reason for breaking up whatsoever. There's a full moon in Cancer, so I'm going to start getting teary, even though this was 21 years ago.
Yeah. I felt the emotion even as you were telling the story, I think it, after having such a high, it must be very hard for anything to come close again.
Absolutely, and nothing did come close again. So it's actually an awakening. The twin flame is an awakening. Like I thought it was a romantic situation, and it's not a romantic situation. That's probably secondary or even tertiary to what the awakening is all about. But at the time, he rejected me. I accepted that. I remember so vividly sitting at a cafe, replaying what had happened that morning and what he had said, and accepting it and feeling at peace. And I remember texting him and saying, I feel really at peace. This is fine. This is okay. You go live your life. You do whatever. And his response was, that makes me really sad to hear that. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. That doesn't make any sense. So he kept coming back in. But we'd already reached soul recognition at that point. So when he came back in, straight away, every time, every single time. And that happened for years. But the reason was because I didn't love myself at all. At all. Not even enough, but not at all. So he energetically, his energy wouldn't allow him to stay in my energy when it was so low. Yeah. And it almost doesn't matter what vibration he's at that point. It's about how my energy is, because the feminine polarity is the one who controls the connection. But I didn't know that at that point in time. So when he's rejecting me, I'm accepting it. I'm feeling nice and peaceful. That draws him back in. It pulls him back in like a tsunami.
I'm kind of now thinking about, my experience and okay, so here's a question for you. Twin flame versus soulmate. Because when I everything you kind of described, those emotions, the strong, attraction, the strong, the connection, all of that. I had that with my ex-boyfriend when I lived in London. And again, things were absolutely amazing. And then one night it just blew up. And I still to this day don't know why it blew up.
Right. Yeah.
And I have seen him since. And he's like, I need to tell you what happened. And I was like, I'd love to know. I would love to know. But he's never got around to telling me, And now I'm also like, I'm at a point now where it doesn't matter. But part of me is also like, what did happen? But when I was going through all of that, I was like, I guess also because I didn't have the knowledge of twin flames. So I just kept saying, oh my God, this guy is my soulmate. Like I never thought that this was, like I always believed that it was a thing, but I never believed it would happen to me. And I was like, no, he's my actual soulmate. Like I've met my soulmate. So but now it's like listening to your experience and the like running and chasing and that sort of stuff. I'm now thinking, maybe it was a twin flame type, because that was also the year that breakup, as well as a few other things, kind of led to my spiritual awakening.
Right.
So yeah, what's the difference?
Okay, so from what I have seen and from my own experience, a twin flame is your mirror. So because they're your exact same frequency and vibration, when you look at them, you're looking into a mirror. So as you see them in their magnificence, you are seeing yourself in your magnificence. So as you are loving them and being in love with them and being addicted to them, you're actually being addicted to yourself. And the energy is telling you to turn that round onto yourself. But at the time, you're not getting that and you're not doing that. So you're sabotaging yourself all the time. So when I say they're your mirror, they not only mirror your magnificence, but they also mirror your deepest wounds. And they can also be wounds from previous lifetimes. They're not necessarily this lifetime, because you've lived other lifetimes together, and it depends what happened in those lifetimes. So what this person is doing is mirroring all the crap back to you. So majority of twins have had childhood trauma, significant childhood trauma, which is what which is where they have developed coping mechanisms as children to get them through childhood, but they don't work in adulthood, and they are deep core wounds. And in my experience, that always comes down to fear of abandonment. So we do lots of things to avoid being abandoned. And ultimately, that means when you fear abandonment, that you don't love yourself enough, because you think people are going to abandon you. So when they mirror your wounds, they actually support you energetically, even though they keep rejecting. So even though he kept rejecting me, every time he rejected me, it was healing a little bit more karma, and also making me look even deeper into why I keep doing this. And that's how the other polarity supports the feminine is by rejecting them all the time and triggering them until, not that you're not triggerable anymore, because I don't believe that there is ever a space that you can't be triggered. Like after doing this for so long, we still get triggered, but it's how we handle it and what we do with it. And one of my gurus at the time was Eckhart Tolle. I read his book, The Power of Now, and that was instrumental in changing my energy.
Great book.
Yep. And now, 21 years later, I am out the other end and I can talk to my twin and I can be in my twin's presence and there's no triggering. So what would used to happen, even like 18 months ago, we'd get together and because I still wasn't there, because I was still chasing and because I was still feeling the need to tell him stuff about himself and all this kind of stuff, he ran. And so I worked super duper hard at changing the energy, and I cannot believe the change. So anyway, we're back to twin flames and soulmates. So my definitive twin flame sign is that as you heal, they heal as well. And as you come into self-love and you depolarize that wounded energy, that wounded feminine, we've also got wounded masculine. As we depolarize that, they can't keep away from us. And that's my defining tool for twin flame. For soulmates support each other in the 3D realm, support each other in a very 3D way. So, soulmates protect you, so twin flames don't protect. So your masculine will protect other people in his life, but the energy won't let him protect the feminine. The feminine has to bring herself into self-love so much that she is not energetically demanding that. When that happens, then he will do what the masculine is meant to do. So with a soulmate will always support you. They will do everything they can for you not to experience pain and heartache, and they will do everything that so there's a lot of teachings around at the moment around masculine and feminine, and that's aimed towards soulmates, not twin flames. So everything you know about masculine and feminine, if that's where you're at with your partner, then you're soulmates. But if none of that resonates with where you are with your partner, then it doesn't. Soulmates don't come in and out. Twin flames come in and out and continually trigger each other. Soulmates don't trigger each other. All twins have their own unique journey. And I'm finding that the younger ones who are being activated now, or even the ones who are being activated in the past few years, their picture looks different to mine. I think that mine was this harsh for so long so that I could come in and help twins out of the confusion and out of the pain and anguish into raise consciousness and a relationship.
And how are you helping them? Sorry.
So I've developed a 3-month program where I work with them on loving themselves, recognizing their core wounds, recognizing their limiting beliefs. Once you recognize your core wounds and you recognize your core beliefs, that's more than half the battle. So I do transmissions, which are activating meditations. I do Holy Fire Reiki. So Holy Fire Reiki energy uses Christ consciousness energy, and the fire is ignited within the self. So the Reiki energy comes from the self rather than from source, like other Reiki energy.
Yep.
And I don't get people to go through their stories, like their trauma stories. Bits and pieces might be relevant, and that's fine, but it's not like a counselling process where you talk all about everything. It's about, okay, I'll get the story. Twins need to talk about their journeys and need to talk about what's going on, so I provide lots of space for that. I don't enable. I won't enable twins. I will make them look at their stuff, and I will bring them back. I'll keep bringing them back to their stuff. I'm working with a business coach who does human design and gene keys. And funnily enough, my life purpose is around clearing spiritual blockages within the self that stop you from having freedom and liberation of self. So I've done that for myself, and in the process, lots and lots of painful stuff has happened in the process, but it was the only way I was going to clear my own blockages. And so in my business, I bring that human design, that tool, into my business, and I help other people look at their blockages and clear their blockages so that they can ascend, raise their consciousness and awareness. And that's what magnetizes the twin back.
Would someone come to you if they've experienced a twin flame interaction, or if they want to?
So my thing is that I don't believe that you can call in your twin flame. I think it's decided by the divine, by source, by your higher self, as to whether or not you can handle the twin flame journey. Because as I said, there are suicidal points along the way, and if that's not something you can handle, I never knew that I would be able to handle it, so it was chosen for me. But calling in your twin flame is, I don't actually think it works. I don't think it works that way either. I believe that it's something that's chosen for you, and it will happen when it's meant to happen. So people will come to me when they've experienced an event that sounds like it could be twin flame, and they're in pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, and they can't seem to get out of it. And to me, ultimately, the label doesn't matter, because my feeling is that if you are suffering so painfully after having an interaction, a romantic interaction with another person, and you're not able to get over it, you can't get through it, that's a really good indicator to me that you need to do some healing. If it's not an awakening, the healing's only going to help. If it's an awakening, then I think the more support you get, the better. I had 15 years of no support. It was horrendous, but that's how my journey was meant to go. That I could say, I have been through just about every scenario, so I am in no place to judge any single person who comes to me, and you can't tell me anything that I haven't already heard or done or said or been myself. So, through experience, I'll help you through either over that hump or over the threshold into proper twin flame, awakened, enlightened territory.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool. I feel like I've learned so much about twin flames just in that, conversation. But so tell me, what's life been like after that moment? So obviously we've talked about a few different moments, but what's life been like since then, and how do you move forward from that?
My personal belief is that you can't. but you try.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had 2 relationships since then, and I really, really feel like those relationships were relationships that kept teaching me. So my twin flame is a person who will keep showing up and keep triggering me until all those wounds, which are the vast majority of them, that I've encountered in lifetimes with that person or with that fractal have been relatively healed. But there are some that the twin can't heal. So my belief is that you go into other relationships. Once you've met your twin, the other relationships you have will never be as romantic, intense, loving, addictive, etc. But they will teach you more lessons that you're still not learning. Either you're not learning them through your twin because that's not what they're here for, to teach you those lessons, or you need harsher lessons. So I needed harsher lessons because I was too stubborn to surrender and to give in and to let go. So through those harsher lessons, I have, it's kind of like you go through those harsher lessons, the twin's still there to keep triggering you and rejecting you and saying you still got this bit, still a little bit to go, still a little bit to go, still a little bit to go. The other relationships might give you like a big kick in the backside lesson. So my feeling is that once you've met your twin, once you've had a relationship with your twin and you know them, nothing else will measure up to that. But if you're feeling like that real pull to go into other relationships, then that's your higher self saying to you, you've got more to learn. There's some more learning to do. So do it. Like, don't fight yourself. Don't resist. Path of least resistance. Stay in flow. Do what needs to be done.
Okay. And that's amazing that you're using your own personal experiences to help other people that might be, struggling with what you've been through.
Yeah. So it's almost like though this is my purpose, because there's another reason for the twin flame awakening is to push you into a purpose and push you into a closer relationship with the divine. Okay, so when you've got a really close relationship with the divine and when you realize what you're here for is actually to be in service to humanity and to help raise the consciousness of humanity. So I was in a career that I'd worked in for 30 years, and certain things were happening in that job that were indicating to me that I couldn't be there anymore. Otherwise, I was going to have severe burnout, severe, vicarious trauma issues. So I was pushed out of that job, and everything has aligned in my life to tell me that this is where I'm meant to be. And it feels like the universe has aligned. I've manifested. I've aligned myself to get to this point. So I feel like this is the pointy end. Like, this is when I'm getting myself out there, getting my face on camera, doing YouTube, doing TikTok, putting things on Instagram and Facebook to bring in my soulmate clientele. Help raise the awareness, the consciousness, the vibration, the frequency of Earth as a whole. Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give to someone that's, starting this journey or has been on this journey? Because, I know for me with that ex, I found it so hard to let go.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give?
I would say come and see me. So I've got a YouTube channel and a website, but I've also, I firmly believe that this journey is almost impossible to reach that high frequency of joy and peace and calm, like I was talking about before I met my twin. It's really hard to get back to that without the proper support. I really, really feel that. So I would say to anyone who thinks that they're going through that, is find support. Find other people who understand twin flames. Like, I don't think counselling cuts it. I don't think therapists understand, because it's energetic and it's a spiritual connection. So I would say, and that is really painful, like that is harder than any awakening out there, I believe, because you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice as to what you face and what you don't face. So get the support, definitely get the support. Yep.
And I will be putting all your links to your website and your YouTube and so on in the show notes as well, so people will be able to find you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us about this experience and this journey?
I can just say that when you get out the other side, which is where I am, it's very extremely different to what you expect. I remember hearing that all the time, and I couldn't conceive of what that meant. But you get that peace, that calm, that ability. And not that the biggest thing is being able to be in your twin's presence, but it's a really good indicator of how far you have come when you can be in your twin's presence and not trigger each other. I can say that you can come out the other end. You can get back to this peace, joy, and love feeling again. So just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Just keep going.
I have one final question for you. Yep. If you could be remembered by one word, what would that word be?
Probably peace. Peace, love. Ascended. I don't know. I know.
I always tell people to choose the first one that comes to their mind.
Yeah. Peace. I want to be known as peace, really. Peace and calm. Like, I love peace. Is just the best feeling in the world. And that's what you feel with your twin when you come out the other end, is peace.
Yeah, peace sounds good.
Yeah.
Peace sounds like the place that we all want to be living from, doesn't it? You know.
Yes. And I was told I used to go to a meditation circle where there was a woman who channeled all the time while we're there, and she was channeling Mother Mary, and I was wearing a blue dress, and she said, you're wearing a blue dress, and blue is the colour of peace, and that is what you have been put on this earth to bring, is peace to the world.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so, so beautiful.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that, someone out there listening finds peace from it.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Yeah.
We can all do with it no matter what.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. I hope today's conversation inspires and empowers you to know that no matter your current situation, your life can change too. All it takes is a moment. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with a friend. If you would like to share your own moment, see the link in the show notes. Until next time, be present in each moment, because you never know when your moment will arrive, or when you have the gift of being a moment for someone else. Take care.